G'day, Badlers, and welcome on into today's podcast. I'm Debbie Pebble.
And I'm PvP Steve, and I wasn't actually sure that. I feel like Debbie had more things to say in the intro, but it's been passed back to me anyway. So I guess, for one, shout out Debbie Pebble for actually doing the intro again. After last week saying it would never happen again. So we're already breaking down barriers here today.
Gosh, the momentum's lost. And in this episode, we'll be talking about all things Peoria, Sacramento, and just PvP related things that has happened in the last couple of weeks. Let's get into it. All right, well, let's get started on Peoria. So Peoria happened, what was this? On the day of recording today. So today's Sunday, so Peoria, what was that? Nearly a week ago?
Yeah, it was last weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So we're recording this on the 15th, and it was the 7th to the 8th, something like that. Maybe.
I was going to say 9th, but anyway.
I don't know, some of those numbers. Anyway, so that was sort of the return to the US, I think, for their, is that their second regional, third regional now? I mean, we've been talking about everyone that's come through. So this is the third regional in the North American region. And I feel like there was some follow on from the previous regional from Latin America, with some picks sort of popping themselves up a little bit more that were starting to appear in the last couple.
Yeah, for sure. And there seems to be definitely a top pick. I wouldn't. Is it too early to say meta? I probably I suppose now that we're like, what is this now? A month or two into the new season.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of. One thing in particular for this regional was that there is a significant amount of Metacham Lickitung core. So in the top 8, all 8 teams had a Metacham, and then 7 out of the 8 teams had a Lickitung as well. Outside of that, there was like a fair bit of variability, which is something, again, we've sort of been seeing through this particular season, which has been sort of a really nice change in that there's lots of different ice types being picked in Frostlass and Alolan Sandslash, Shadow or non-Shadow. Alolan Ninetales still hanging out as well. And then you've got them sort of wackier picks like the Shadow Dragonite, which there were still 2 of in the top 8 this time around. Shadow Charizard still sort of making an appearance as well. The Venusaurs, the Superior being one of the sort of brand new picks that have been made to be meta in this brand new season, especially with fewer Noctowls running around, but still a couple of Lanturns hanging out as well. But I think Rockhaven 703, who sort of made it into the top 8, I want to say for the first time. It actually made it all the way through to the top 6, I believe. They made the debut into top 8 with, I guess, carried one particular Pokemon into the top 8 for the first time. And Debbie, could you just like, what Pokemon might that be? Because I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I feel like this is one that speaks to you personally.
Is it because my buddy currently says loves carbs? If you haven't figured it out, it is Carbink. So Carbink has been sitting on the top of the PV Poke Great League ladder for a while, or hovering around the top area. And it's something that, although sitting at the top, has not really been brought in or heavily showcased in the play Pokemon circuit. So I'm obviously very excited to see it. So I think it's fitting for someone with the username Rockhaven to bring a Rock Fairy type. It's great to see its debut.
If anyone was going to do it, I think that Rockhaven was the perfect person to sort of bring that Carbink through, because as you said, it's just not something that's been brought in very often. It was banned through the World Championships, so this season is the first time that you've been allowed to use Carbink in the play Pokemon circuit, but I think the meta is just a little bit aggressive against it. But, Rockhaven, coming through, not only getting to the top 8, but then still taking out some really strong opponents. I think his last win was against Rise to Occasion in the top 8. So definitely did a really, really amazing job with that Carbink. And maybe people sort of start using it a bit more. I have just realized, as we've been talking about this as well, that I think Caleb, going into sort of as we were walking towards the stream for Peoria, he put out a tweet that was like, will we finally see Carbink hit top cut of a regional? And I replied to that tweet with just 2 letters, no. So, hey, everyone's allowed to be wrong. This time, I'm happy to be proven wrong here.
Well, at least you're not on the fence like some people.
Some people are willing to take a stance.
I will work on that. Anyway, but very, very happy to see it on there. And Carbink is just one of those that you definitely need to have excels with. So it was really a Pokemon that was quite hard to obtain. I think for those that actually played the Go Fest, especially in London or in Osaka, Carbink was available. Whereas for the rest of the world, it wasn't. So it's definitely something that sounds like Rockhaven has worked hard towards getting, and also working on the XLs. I mean, you probably could bring a non-XL Carbink, but if you're in the Play Pokemon series, you probably would want a little bit more bulk. But it is a pretty bulky Pokemon anyway.
Yeah, and in saying that, and this is just a bit of a side tangent, I suppose, going forward, at least from sort of late November, as we move to the open team sheets, one of the things that is written on the team sheet is the Pokemon's HP stat. So, or the HP number, I guess. How many health points does this Pokemon have? And so, sort of elite trainers can use that as a bit of an indicator as to, is this Pokemon XL or not? Is this number sort of indicative of a Pokemon that has been powered up to level 50, or is this a hundo that is someone's powered up to sort of just save on a bit of a dust and some candy? So you will be able to tell sort of going into the future. I'm sure that people start putting together like cheat sheets and stuff as far as like, look out for these numbers because these are where, certain things start to kick in. I think I might be a little bit too slow to get all of that going on in my noggin, but hey, it's sort of just out there, something to keep in mind, that people will be able to identify if you are running an XL Pokemon or not before you actually hit the battlefield. So just keep that in mind if you do decide to sort of make the big dive into actually building a Carbink. And again, even though it has hit the top 8, even though it is pretty high in the rankings, I don't think it's exactly a power player. I don't expect me to see me running Carbink in any Play Pokemon regionals anytime soon.
Yeah, you might not. Anyway. Stop giving away my strats, Steve.
Scrap that. This didn't make it a cut. So
we'll cut this.
Sorry, guys.
Cut.
But yeah, King Alexander took out the regional in the end with a team of Superior, Lickitung, Gligar, Frostlass, Metacham, and Lantern. So a relatively sort of meta-looking team with those brand new season editions of Superior and Gligar, definitely making themselves aware and useful. So King Alexander winning his invitation through to the World Championships, and plenty of other championship points thrown out there to the likes of S. James P21, Nighttime Clasher, Teddy Bear XD, Rockhaven, of course, Rise to Occasion, Kimisui, Uzao, and of course some other trainers through to the top 16 as well. So shout out to all of them. But as we sort of said at the top of the thingo, this regional was done last weekend. As we're recording this, we're sort of going into day 2 of the next regional, which is the Sacramento Regional. This is the only back-to-back regionals in the entire season that are held on the same continent. So this is the only time that we're going to see a back-to-back in the same region, potentially see some of the same names sort of coming through. Although, spoiler alert, we do not have any repeat back-to-back week top 8ers. It is a completely fresh set going into Sacramento. And I think one of the most interesting top 8s in quite a long time. Debbie, do you just sort of want to go through some of what we're seeing going into Sacramento day 2?
Yeah, absolutely. So, with the top eight in Sacramento, we're seeing some similarities to the last couple of Play Pokemon tournaments. So, a lot of Medicham, a lot of Lantern, but there are some key things or like key Pokemon that just we don't really often see in the tournament. And the one that really leaps out to me through, I mean, there's a few that we can go through, but the one that really leaps out to me is the C2U that is bringing in a Lorantis, and I love it. I love that they brought in the Lorantis. It is like it, it just the pinstripes that just a bug Pokemon that just charges so much. Like, it's so fast. I don't know if you guys have used it. It's a lot of fun to play with, and but it is very glassy. So yeah, shout out to the C2U for bringing that because that was certainly some spice.
I'm glad you have your favorite in there with, again, that spammy combo with Fury Cutter. You've got access to Leaf Blade and Superpower, so you can like hit things like Lantern, but you can also hit things like Registeels, and I mean, I guess you can do some neutral damage to Carbink. But my favorite is the other particularly spicy pick, being the Guzzlord that has been brought in by Bopper. And by the way, both of these two trainers, Bopper and the CTU, these are two of the four trainers that are remaining that are undefeated at the moment. So they're sort of like still in the winners bracket alongside Zero Elite Zero and Dunebug 97. And so Bopper bringing in that Guzzlord, which is, I don't think it's known to be a particularly fast Pokemon. It's a very large Pokemon, that's for sure. If we're rating Pokemon based on size, Guzzlord is definitely taking home some awards. But it's got a sort of wacko moveset with Dragon Tail, Dragon Claw, Crunch. So you do have a lot of sort of neutral coverage. You've got that Crunch with the chance of getting that 30% debuff coming through as well. It's a really weird Pokemon, and potentially like, I was going to say gives you some play against the Frostlasses that have started to creep up this season, but at the same time, you're taking a lot of super effective damage from the Frostlass at the same time. So it's a little bit of a race to not get KO'd, but I think you would be surprised as to how much health Guzzlord actually has. When we go to those open team sheets and you start seeing those numbers being printed out on the sheet, I think this guy can go up to like 300 with some IVs. Like it's a very it's got enough health to fill its huge body. So also massive shout out to Bopper to sort of bringing that into some success as well.
Guzzlord is certainly a choice. It wouldn't have been my choice, obviously, but it certainly is a choice.
I don't
And a
know.
statement, if anything. Like, I think it is interesting and I love seeing it, but it was certainly something that I personally would not bring.
I don't know. Maybe it pairs really well with Carbink. The Guzzlord Carbink combo, the duo pair is a very hardcore to beat. So stay tuned for some Guzzlord Carbink action. Coming to a Brisbane regional near you. But of course, there's some other picks coming through as well. For example, Iamero, who has come up from Mexico, I believe. I'm going based on the flags from Draco versus graphics here. And if I'm wrong, that's my inability to recognize flags. Actually, that's not, is it? Mexico flag, Google. Oh, wait, it is. I think we're good. Nice success.
Steve, what did I say about like not making like enemies out of other countries? Like, have we really hit? Like, I didn't think you would take it to heart when we were talking about Latin Americans last time. Okay.
I can keep being jealous of LAIC all I want. But to big credit here, Iamero coming in and getting to the top 8 in this regional with a Mantine as well, which not like it's a bad Pokemon. It's a little bit of a throwback to me Weedle, who is a famous Mantine user, but still coming through and doing a really nice job with it, alongside some other picks that are running around, like Dre Flames is running a Diggersby on their team. There's still a few Shadow Charizards as well. Dunebug's running the Mandibuzz, which I think Mandibuzz, we sort of expected that it was going to be better than it has been going into this season. I think it was one of the Pokemon that was sort of being hailed as the potential new best flyer. It has not been displaying that on the play Pokemon circuit, at the very least. I think people are sort of leaning back towards more of the Charizards, the Dragonites, that sort of technically have that flying type, but not quite operating in that flyer capacity. And instead, I mean, you've got things like Gligar, who's sort of running it through as well, but it's just not
Yeah.
that traditional role that
Mm.
Mandibar sort of fills. And actually, Dunebug running both Mandibars and Gligar on the same team, so are feeling slightly different roles there.
I was just having a quick look, and what I've noticed in this top eight is that the Gligers that have been brought in are non-shadow, so they're just normal Gligar, which I would think that would be the other way around. I'd think that there'll be more shadow Gligers around, but yeah, probably opting for that little bit more health, that little bit of bulkiness behind it, instead of going for the shadow option.
Yeah, I mean, so I've actually been in Go Battle League, in the Great League. I've been running Gligar, Gliscor, sort of double bat in the back line, ABB, a Pokemon, bat. And I've been running a Shadow Gligar that I built. And to be honest, I think I'm also on board with the non-Shadow Gligar. There's quite a few times that you just are missing a little bit of bulk, and you don't get that much out of the additional damage that you do get out of the charge moves. You just like a dig from a Shadow Gligar still isn't enough to like take out a Lantern. You've still got to get usually at least another Aerial Ace off to try and KO that Lantern, by which time they've already got another Surf off that you have to sort of shield or not shield as well. So it sort of puts you in a lot of tough situations, I think, that I would understand why people are ditching the Shadow Gligar. And I'll probably be giving non-Shadow Gligar a bit more of a go sort of over the next coming days in the Go Battle League as well. But yeah, definitely sort of an interesting move away from earlier on in the season where we were definitely seeing a couple more Shadow Gligars. So I guess Shadow Charizard really being left as the only Shadow Flyer in this particular top 8 at Sacramento. But yeah, of course, we'll see how this meta develops. By the time that everyone is listening to this, we'll already know the results. So, congratulations to insert name here and insert name here for doing an absolute cracker job. It was awesome to watch day 2. Yep. Lock it in. And nothing went wrong in the stream. There was no lag. There's no drama that's come out after this. But it's all clean. And I guess that'll sort of segue us off into part 2 of the podcast, the miscellaneous section, the non-play Pokemon section, because we do have some stuff to talk about that has sort of been going on over the last couple of weeks. And I think the sort of thing that's very much on everyone's mind is that there's been a bit going on sort of around over the last little while. So I thought that we just sort of quickly would bring everyone up to speed on everything that sort of happened so that we're sort of all on the same page. We've all got the same knowledge and we sort of all have a pretty good understanding of what has happened. And this is for, everyone who's sort of seen some whispers, some stuff going around on Twitter, whatever. So, breaking it down in speedrun fashion, Joe Jonas filed for his divorce from Sophie Turner probably like a month and a half ago, and then his PR team put out like the statement that was a little bit like, how's it going? With like sort of how she likes to party and how he likes to stay home, trying to subtly paint her as the bad mother of the relationship. Sophie Turner sort of went out, claimed that she'd only found out that she'd filed from divorce from the media. Then they put out like a joint statement, and then like a few years later, she sued Joe Jonas for taking their kids, keeping their passports, not returning them to their home in England where they all moved in April. A lot going on there. Obviously, then we've got crossover with one of the other big stories of not only the month, but of the century, Taylor Swift. Obviously, she's loaned out a New York apartment to Sophie to have been together for like dinner and footy game, whatever. So, that's what the cards lay. I just wanted to quickly give everyone sort of that update because I feel like there's been a lot of confusion going around. So, drama update.
Yes, thank you for that, Steve. For our is this a new segment now? The drama update.
Yeah, the tea corner. The tea. What's the haps, dog? I just saw a lot of explosions on Twitter over the last little while, so I thought that would be helpful.
I think it was appropriate for October, maybe the Poltergeist corner. Yeah.
What? There's a tea Pokemon, yeah. What's that dude called? It's beyond Pokemon Go, so I don't know.
I just said it.
Oh, is that actually what it's called?
Yeah.
Oh.
Do you want to look it up? It's
yeah, but they also already have a move that's just Poltergeist. I thought it was just a straight pun on that, but nope. There you go.
I mean, the Sinistea, the pre-evolution of it.
No, it's not. No, it's not that dark and spooky.
It is October.
Yeah. Okay. Well, would the next episode even come out in October? I feel like it'll be just into November, so maybe not. So we might have missed the opportunity to properly label that segment, unfortunately. But it is what it is, I guess. But
It's in this one, kind of. That's wrong.
Sort
That's
of.
wrong.
Just pretend it was back. We named it that from the start. Um, but there's plenty of other stuff going on as well. For example, Gogoat was. Some people have been referring to it as Horlucha 2.0. Do you want to give the quick rundown on what has sort of happened there?
Yeah, so Skidoo was released, I believe, in Seoul City Safari. No, what's it called again? Is it City Safari? Did I get that right?
Yeah, I
Yes.
think that's right.
So it was released, and also shiny version was released as well. And in the movesets for its evolution of Gogoat, it did have a very good moveset. I believe it had Rock Slide. What was the other one, Steve? I'm just trying to think on the top of my head.
Vine Whip, Leaf Blade,
Yeah.
alongside that Rock Slide.
So a very, very good moveset, like very appropriate for this meta, and would have probably been brought in for Play Pokemon Tournament. But just before release, they decided, oh, no, we can't release that. So they have taken away that moveset. So now it's just it's a dex filler for now until it actually gets its proper moveset, like Hawlucha and like many other Pokemon.
Look, it's not like it's got a terrible moveset. You've still got Vine Whip, Leaf Blade, which is a really nice combo. And then you also have Brick Break, which not the best charge move in the world. It is sort of somewhat likely a Pokemon that you don't need to spend any charge TMs on, because it only has one moveset with like double moves. So it is one, that if you are going to double move it and you're the type of person that cares which side their charge moves are on as far as the baits and the nukes, you do have to take that into consideration before you hit the second move button. But yeah, I wouldn't expect to see it in any top 8s anytime soon. But, I would have said the same about Carbink, but I think I'm a little bit more confident that Gogoat has probably missed his goat.
Someone please bring a Gogoat. Just please. I want to see it. I want to see it.
This is where I'd bring my Gogoat to Brisbane if I had one.
I should have gone to Seoul last week. Anyway.
Yeah, so that's just another a quickie. Another just quick one is just that disputes have been renamed to reviews. I don't know if I misspoke when I mentioned that at the end of the Sinistea Poltegeist segment, but yeah, that's just an official terminology change, just to sort of try and help with the taking down the stigma that is around disputing being like a bit of a bad thing, something to look down upon. So, it's a little change, but I think it's probably a positive one.
A little change, but I think overall actually a big change, just so that it doesn't. Yeah, I think definitely breaking down that stigma, the negativity around the word dispute, and that people can just be like, hey, I'm not too sure about that one. I would like a review. That is much more like pleasing to the ear than it'd be like, I'd like to dispute that. So yeah, really happy with that change moving forward into this season now as well. But something that I also wanted to chat about as well, Steve, you retweeted something about the boost animation that is, I suppose, in the latest update of the game has just kind of altered a few things.
Yeah, well, I think it's not even the latest update of the game. If my understanding's right, they've done it server side, which just means that it's applied to everyone. But this is something that was posted by Jonkus on Twitter, and it essentially shows that when a Pokemon is KO'd by a charge move that has an ability to increase its stats. So, for example, in the video that Jonkus posted, it's Talonflame throwing a flame charge. If that flame charge KOs your Pokemon, then it won't actually show the Talonflame's attack was boosted until after you bring another Pokemon in. And the reason they've sort of made this little change, or so we can guess, is because there have been some issues in the past that I'm sure many people are aware of, where the boost animation sort of like goes or doesn't goes, but the camera angle just goes a little bit funky. And so you never actually see the opposing Pokemon to see whether that boost occurred. So you're just sort of playing guessing games. You might have to just look at your health bar, whether it's moved or not, a little bit more, whether they have the boost or not. And so they've tried to fix it by making it force show it only after you swap in your next Pokemon in this instance. But it sort of brings up the question of, okay, so if an Obstagoon just KOs you with a Night Slash, you don't know if you're throwing a Pokemon into a Night Slash that's just boosted and these counters are going to be doing super damage or not, which really matters when you're making the decision about what Pokemon you want to throw in, especially at that sort of higher level on the play Pokemon stage. It's something that definitely matters for strategy. And so I feel like assuming, and this could be a bad assumption, running under the assumption that they've made this change to try and fix that issue, to try and sort of like improve PvP. Unfortunately, I don't think that that's completely thought through. And I think that there is just that alternative issue that means that it would be better off being reverted and to try and come up with a new fix to the issue.
Agree with that. I love fishing for a boost. Or a debuff. If there's a chance to do it, I'll try. So I think it makes a huge difference. Like if it's only after you bring like or switch into a certain Pokemon, like you just it's almost like the trap's been laid and you don't even know it. So I think, yeah, I agree that they definitely need to relook at that because that could really change a lot in the game, actually.
Yeah, and as someone again who's running that Gliscor team with Gliscor having that Night Slash, I mean, hey, I'll cheat some wins away from people who don't realize that I've just Night Slash boosted on them, but I don't think it's sort of the best way for the game to be playing out. But it's one of those sort of we just have to wait and see. There wasn't any sort of official announcements from Niantic that this update was sort of happening. We don't actually know for sure whether it was intentional or not. Again, we're sort of running on assumptions here, which can be dangerous, but it feels like, or at least my interpretation is that it was a good faith change on their part. It just didn't quite hit the mark, unfortunately.
We'll see what happens and see if there's any updates or changes. And if there is, we'll let you know.
Yeah, exactly. But, speaking of things that I've retweeted, because that's clearly where all the content comes from.
Everyone go onto Steve's Twitter and just if you haven't already, just drop him a follow. It'll make him happy.
Yeah, come on, guys. I need the dopamine. But Anacor, XIII, host of the Battle Cats podcast, as well as, I mean, he's a world traveler. He's got that British accent going on, but sort of some Australian hanging out. He's doing all the Australian regionals when he's around. But he's sort of been running this new, I guess he's bringing up a new circuit that is referred to as the Asia Pacific Championships. And what this is you can kind of think of it a little bit, and this probably paints it in the wrong light, but it's a little bit like, just to give some level of base, it's like a Silpharina thing, where there's going to be 3-month seasons, these seasons being lined up with the Go Battle League seasons, or I guess the Pokemon Go seasons, and each season there's sort of, you'll have a bunch of online opponents that you have to schedule matches with each week, and based on your win count, sort of at the end of the season, you'll go on to the Asia Pacific Championships. So the sort of the top, say, I think it might have been the top 3 or 4 from each region go on to compete against everyone in the Asia Pacific region. And so this is broken down into I guess smaller regions. So for example, the Oceania region is one specific group that will be battling through the season, and the top 3 or 4 from the Oceanic region will go through to the finals there. And so the Oceania region, which is clearly the one that is most relevant to the two of us here, and certainly with just look at the title of the thing below, right? It's definitely got that Oceanic, I guess, push on this format, on this podcast. But It's going to be run by Arena Australis. So if you just type in Asia Pacific Championships, maybe that doesn't even come up, actually. I guess there's a lot of Asia Pacific Championships not in Pokemon Go. Maybe do just go to my Twitter and go there through the retweet.
Again, go to Steve's Twitter.
Guys, please, I'm really trying to plug this through as hard as I can. There's only one reason I wanted to bring this topic up, and it was just to plug my Twitter. But the link to the Discord that all of this is being hosted on is on their Twitter account. So definitely go there, give them a follow if you're interested in that sort of thing. And I think that Anacor's hope is that this is a format that might be picked up by the other regions as well. But as is, the Australian scene is sort of starting to pick up because we've been getting bored, man. Sylph closed down and we don't get a lot of regionals over here. So I think especially for the APAC region, it's a welcome thing.
Yeah, I think it's worth giving it a go. And especially for the Oceania region, that you are versing, fellow country people. So yeah, I think it's just nice. And also you can, freshen up your skills. It's only for the season. So, and you only have to line up one battle a week, I believe. So yeah, definitely. I'll be looking to jump on board if I have time. I'll be definitely having a look anyway. I'll keep an eye on it because I think it's just fun.
Yeah, exactly. And it is open Great League format, I believe, as well. So you're getting that practice in for the Play Pokemon circuit when it does arrive. And against, I think it is going to be a tiered system as well. So a little bit like factions where over time, the sort of better performing battlers will move up to higher tiers as well. So if you're like a really high level battler, you will be getting sort of that high level practice as well. I guess the sort of aim of any of that tiering system in any format is that you battle sort of like skilled opponents, similarly skilled opponents, so that you are actually sort of getting practice that is a little bit tuned towards you, which can definitely help to sort of keep you on your toes as you go into, again, there's only 3 regionals in Australia. There are not a lot of championship point opportunities, especially when they have not actually given us the ability to do challenges and cups yet. So it might be well worthwhile sort of looking at, we're only a month and a bit away from the first of the 3 regionals of the season.
It's creeping up quick though. Brisbane is, next month for us, the end of November, and who knows what it would all turn out to be, but it's looking like numbers are very, very good at the moment. I think last check was into the late 40s on participation. So yeah, let's hope we get those numbers up and have a good time in Brisbane.
Yeah, I'm kind of, I wish that we could all just have a gentleman's agreement where we all just bring like a Kangaskhan on our team and then we just run with teams of 5. But I have my doubts that we could make that happen. But you never know. It would be cool.
Maybe you just need to run that in your Discord, Steve, like the Kangaskhan Cup.
Oh, and you spell cup with a K.
Oh.
Or the Kangas Cup. Just go straight into it. I don't know, man. It's got so many moves too. Yeah, so join the Discord.
Is this entire podcast just a plug for you?
Let me think. Don't forget to subscribe at youtube.com/PvPSteve. Check me out on Twitch, PvPSteve7. OnlyFans, all the rest.
Whoa. Are we leaving that one in or are we cutting that one out?
One way to find out.
That's all for our podcast for today. Thank you for listening. Please join our socials at G'day Battlers on Twitter and on YouTube. If you are listening on things like Spotify, feel free to drop us a 5-star and drop a comment, a like, and a subscribe on YouTube as well. We'll see you guys on the next podcast. Thank you. Bye. Intro music, intro music, intro music.